Hello everyone. So in this video, I will be going over setting up a live server in Visual Studio Code for your HTML projects. And we'll be following 5 steps to complete the setup. So let's start with step number 1. So you're going to download Visual Studio Code. So just open your browser and search for Visual Studio Code. And the first link should be the Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to go to that page. And if you're using a Mac, you should see the option for Mac. Since I'm using a Windows, it shows download for Windows. So I'm going to just click on the button and the download should start right away. It may take a few seconds sometimes. So now you can see that it directly goes to my downloads folder and I will just click on save. And you can see that it is done installing it. So I'm going to click on the folder icon to see where it is downloaded. So since I picked downloads, it's in my downloads folder. And I'm going to double click on it to start the installation process. And it may take a minute to complete the installation. So first you have to say, I accept the agreement, and then click on next, next, next. Do not change anything, just choose next, next. We can change if we need it. But for now, just go to next, next, and then install. And that should take about a minute to complete. So while this is installing, let's go over our next step. So we want to open the Visual Studio Code after installation, but since it is still installing in the background, as you can see, we will go ahead and start step number 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a folder for your project. So you're going to go to Files and New Folder. So in order to go to your files, you can click the file icon. Since I already inside the file section, I will just go to the C drive. So usually you want to create a folder in your C drive. So I'm going to go to C drive. So this is my C drive. And then here I'm going to create a project. So folder. And you can give it any name of your choice. But here I'm going to name something like my web page. Okay. So I'm going to rename this and I will say my web page. So this is actually my second step, which is now complete. So name the folder something like my web page and open it from VS Code. So we can only open from VS Code once the installation is complete, which I think is still not done. So let's wait a couple of more seconds so that it completes the installation. So we have done step number 1. We have done step number 2. Step number 3 is step number 3 can be done once we open the Visual Studio Code. But we're going to open another minute. Okay, so now this is done and you can see that it says launch Visual Studio Code. So I will keep it checked and click on finish. And that should launch my Visual Studio Code. And as you can see, this black screen is your Visual Studio Code. And it is opening some other files. So I will just go and click on File. So remember, our goal is to open the folder that we just created. So I'm going to click on File and then select the option Open Folder. And then we're going to our C drive. And then the project that we just one click on it. I'm not going to go inside the folder. I'll just one click on it. This is important because if you go inside the folder, that means it's not going to be the root project. So I will make sure that my web page is the root project in VS Code. I'm going to say select folder. Once you do that, it should now open that folder, my web page. Okay, so that's what we wanted to see because that's the name of the folder that I created. And you will see this prompt that says trust these authors. I'm going to check and say, yes, I trust the authors. And we are done with step number 3. Okay, step number 1, we downloaded it and we installed it. Step number 2, we created a folder and then we open that folder in VS Code or Visual Studio Code. Usually we say VS Code. Now step 3 is we have to install the live server extension. So to do this, what we have to do is we have to go to the extension by clicking the extensions icon on the sidebar. So this is the extensions. So I'm going to click on that. And here I'm going to type live server. And then you will see it here. That's the first option. Okay, so I already installed it. So that's why you can see that my installation button is not showing. So this is already installed for me. So I'm going to go back to my Explorer. So click on the file and you will see there is nothing because in that folder, I do not have any files. Okay, so we are done with the step number 3, install the live server extension, which once installed, you should see uninstalled. So it means it is already installed. Okay, now step number 4, we are going to create an HTML file and write some code. So what we're going to do is if you hover on my web page, you should see a new file icon. So click on that. And we're going to name this index.html. So this is our first HTML file. And then you can see that VS Code opens that file index.html. You can close the other tab, live server. And then I'm going to use a simple piece of code, which is right here. Even if you don't understand the code, that's fine. Just copy and paste the code here. Basically, what should happen is the H1 tag that you're seeing, it's going to basically create a web page with only this title, and that's it. This is just to test if our live server is working correctly and if our HTML file is working correctly. Okay, so we are done with step number 4. Copy and paste the following HTML code into index.html. So this is our index.html, and I'm going to copy and paste that code. These 2 lines are actually not needed here. Okay, final step. Launch the site using live server. So what you can do, there are 2 ways you can run it. Either right click. So if you right click, you can see there is an option that says open with live server. This option will only show up if you install the live server by going to the extension option. Otherwise, you're not going to see it. So this is one way to run it. Another option is at the bottom of your bottom right side of your VS Code, where you can see there is a button that says go live. So you can either click on go live or right click and click on open with live server. So I will just choose the one from the bottom right corner. So go live. So if you click on go live, which basically means it's going to launch your web page on your browser using a local server. So that link that you see, it is generated from your computer to display that web page that you just created. Okay, so that's our very first HTML code, and we can see it from a browser using our local server. Okay, so local server means basically no one can access this link, only you can access this link, and you can use it just to check your code if it is working correctly, test it, and just to see how your page looks like on your computer's browser. Okay, and so no one can access this link, it's just for you. Okay, so that's pretty much it for setting up a live server in VS Code for your HTML project. So anytime you make some changes, you can run the code and launch your live server to see if your code renders the web page correctly. Okay, all right, guys, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.